Hello and welcome back to my channel. Recently, I was able to have a conversation with Pier Gustafson, and during the conversation, he asked me about the name of my YouTube channel, which is Travel by Books. He wanted to know the origin or inspiration behind the name, and I told Pier that yes, I loved books and that I was very interested in travel. And he asked me if I was familiar with the Baedeker travel guides. At first, I did not realize what he was talking about, but as he showed me his Baedeker guides, I understood what he was referring to. And yes, I am familiar with the Baedeker guides, and our conversation inspired me to order my own Baedeker guide, and I chose the Baedeker's Guide to Egypt, since Egypt is the country that I am most interested in. The Baedeker guides were published during the late 1800s. They began to be published during the late 1800s to early 1900s, and they served as travel guides for the wealthy travelers of the time, who were mostly Europeans and British. And they carried these books with them on their travels, and these books became like the Bible, the travel Bible to these people. My book was published in 1908 and is in very fragile condition. As you can see, the guides were begun by Carl Baedeker. This book was at one time owned by E. Avery Newton, MD, among probably many other owners. And as you can see, it's in very fragile condition. The cover is separating from the spine. It did not arrive in this condition. These books can be purchased today on eBay. As I began to read the book and look through it, that was when the cover separated. I've developed a new respect for professional restorers of documents. There was a folded map of Egypt in the front of this book, folded up, of course, because these are small books. And as I unfolded the map to have a look at it, it literally began to disintegrate in my hands, and I had to tape it together on the back and insert it in this plastic sleeve to even be able to look at it. But I discovered something about the Baedeker guides. These are not just travel guides. This is a textbook. And what I mean by that is that the book starts out with advice on the best time of year to travel to Egypt, the methods of travel. It deals with the currency, the different currencies and the conversions of currency, what to pack, to be sure and bring your own medications. It deals with how to interact with the Egyptian people, the various Egyptian people that a traveler of that time would interact with, donkey boys, the guides that were at that time called dragoman. It's just a comprehensive guide to how to begin your visit to Egypt. There's a section in here, a chapter in here on the steamship schedules. Here are some annotations. February 20th, 1910, left from Cairo, sailed March 30th for Naples. This was a chapter dedicated to the various forms of travel you could use to arrive in Egypt: arrival by sea, railway stations, hotels. cafes, baths, electric tramways, cabs. And at the time that this book was published, people were still traveling by horse and carriage in Egypt. There is a section in here dedicated to donkey riding and recommends riding donkeys as one of the most efficient ways of getting around the sites in Egypt. But just let me give you a few examples of the complexity and detail that this book goes into. This is a list which covers several pages of the kings of ancient Egypt, and their names are listed in their cartouche forms. This is amazing. And then we have a section that shows the various gods or divinities of ancient Egypt, how they would most likely appear on the walls of the tombs and temples. There's a whole section on the religion of Islam and the various rituals and postures that followers of Islam would go through during their daily prayers, the major holidays of Islam. There are beautiful little maps throughout the book. Here is a section of depicting the reliefs to be found on the walls of the tombs and temples of Saqqara, which are primarily depictions of the people going about their daily business. And I saw this for myself. We visited Egypt in late 2021, and we went to Saqqara, and there are just absolutely beautiful reliefs on the walls of the pyramids, showing people fishing, hunting for wildfowl, gathering the harvest, or taking the various fruits and vegetables to sacrifice or honor the gods and pharaohs. Just beautiful things. Here is a complete map of the Nile River, of the course of the Nile River. And you see here the fragility of this paper. This piece is torn loose at the fold, but it is a map of the entire course of the Nile. Here we have a plan of Karnak Temple in Luxor. I could have used such a map when we visited there. The Karnak complex is huge, but here we have a complete map of the complex, or at least complete as it was known at that time. Every temple, every tomb that was known in Egypt at that time has a diagram in this book. Here is a diagram of the temple of Medinet Habu. There are diagrams in the book of the temple at Edfu, the temple of Komombo, here is a diagram or layout of the temple of Komombo. The temple of Horus at Edfu. And the book actually extends down into the into and out to the desert regions and down into the Sudan. One account that I found very fascinating was the book describes how to visit the Temple of Philae, which in modern times was moved. The entire temple monuments and constructions was moved to save it from the rising waters of the Aswan Dam. But this book describes how to visit Philae in the location that it was currently in at the time that this book was published. And it was fascinating because it talks about how at certain times when the water level is high, there are parts of the Philae Temple that could not be accessed due to water levels. And I found that to be absolutely fascinating. So I would like to thank Pier Gustafson for bringing this book to my attention. This is a book that would take almost a lifetime's study to become familiar with everything in this book. And that is why I say it is a textbook rather than simply a guidebook. So thank you, Pier, and I hope that everyone enjoyed this look at my 1908 edition of the Baedeker Guide to Egypt.